I'm Jim Green, gunsmith and proprietor of Gunworks in Harrington, Down East Maine. You'll find me on the internet at downeastgunworks.com. I repair and rebuild both modern and older guns. I also shoot them. In fact, in response to requests from several of my customers and video viewers, I've made a series of videos on how to load, fire, and care for flintlock rifles. If you enjoy the long history and tradition of guns, I think that you'll like these flintlock videos. They're fun, but remember, these are actually working firearms, not toys. Handle them with respect and care.
How you doing? My name is Jim Green. I'm a gunsmith. I have a gun shop in Down East Maine, Gunworks, town of Harrington. Today's video is going to be on how to safely load and operate a flintlock firearm. I've had several people request how to do this, and apparently this is a disappearing art. Considering I still hunt with flintlocks for everything from squirrels all the way through deer, I figured today would be a pretty good time to get a chance to take it out and fire it. Flintlock mechanism was developed around the late 16, early 1700s, and I like to call them a rock-hammered gun. Reason being is because instead of a standard percussion cap or anything to set the powder charge off, you use a flint that sparks against a frizz made of steel. The sparks drop down into the powder pan, and that's what fires your gun. What I like to do to go through the process for loading is if you have your gun in long-term storage, you'll be wanting to put some oil down in the bore. You can't dump powder in on top of that, so my suggestion is get you some boiling water, put a little funnel in the end, and run you a little boiling water through it to clean the oil out. Take your ramrod, wrap you a patch around it, and swab the bore out really good. And then you might want to flash 1 or 2 primer pans full of powder through it to make sure everything's sparking just right and it's dry. I've already done that, so what we're going to do is go through the loading process now. I have a small little brass container of powder here with a small little nipple on the end of it. What you never want to do is get into the habit of in between your shots dumping your powder straight down the bore out of this. Reason being, you have a spark in the bore, this becomes a hand grenade in your hand. Not a good idea. What I have is a small little cow tip antler here that I've hollowed out to hold exactly the powder charge that I need. You don't have to get this extravagant. You can use black powder, or you can use Pyrex or Hodgdon's 777. Now the Pyrex and the Hodgdon's 777 are modern equivalent to black powder. Once you have that measured out, you'll pour that down the bore. Now this being my squirrel hunting rifle, it's only 32 caliber. The rifle and twist rate in this rifle here is about 1 in 66 to 1 in 72. So that's probably about right for a patched round ball, but not very good for anything bigger than that. And unfortunately, a patched round ball is ballistically about the most inferior projectile you could possibly ever come up with. That's what our ancestors had, though. So what you'll do is you'll pick out a patch. In this case, I'm using pre-greased pillow ticking. I dropped it on the snow. It's all right. Anyway, pre-greased patch and a small round projectile, 32 caliber. You'll lay your patch across the end of the muzzle. Set your projectile on top of that. Then you have another little tool called a short starter. Reason being is you're trying to cram an oversized diameter lead ball down a bore that's a little bit snug. So that's how you start it with the short starter. Once you use the short starter to start the ball down the bore, and you'll ram the ball home with your ramrod. In this case right here, I'm going to suggest that you put one of your hands up by the muzzle and just go in short strokes down. Now, when you get to the end, the temptation is to put your hand over the top to shove it all the way in. Not a good idea there either, because if you have an accidental discharge, you just shot a ramrod through your hand. In this case here, all you're going to get is just some burned fingers and a little bit of attitude. Now if you'll notice here on my ramrod, I have 2 marks. The first mark is how deep the ramrod seats once there's a powder charge in the ball end. The second mark is how deep the ramrod sits on an empty chamber. By putting those 2 marks on your ramrod, you can always have a quick visual glance and say, okay, I've got it loaded or it's not loaded. By the way, this is not a rapid fire weapon. Once the ball is loaded in place and you have a powder charge, get back into your possibles bag. I use a priming horn. It's a little spring-loaded nipple on the end right there that I can put my priming charge of 4F gunpowder. Once it's primed, close the frizzen. The gun's on half cock. Always want to make sure you have all your gunpowder away from the firearm, back safely in your possibles bag or in a pocket or something so spark won't set it off by accident. When you're ready to fire the gun, bring the hammer all the way back to full cock, take careful aim, and fire.
I think I jumped.
Sorry if I made you a little jumpy with that. I guess they don't call them a flintlock for no reason. Yeah, people, until they get used to them, have a tendency to flinch a little bit. Now, in between your shots, there's something you might want to consider doing. That's very carefully blow down the bore of the rifle. Reason being is if there's any kind of stray sparks in here, you dump your next powder charge in, you definitely don't want that to go off by accident. That's my .32 caliber squirrel rifle. Now we'll go ahead and get the big deer rifle out. It's going to load basically the same way. This is a more modern version of a flintlock. This one's a Lyman trade rifle in .50 caliber. It's in flintlock as well. This is what I like to use for deer hunting. This is one of the later designs, Hawkins style, instead of the earlier Pennsylvania long rifle style that you saw. Loading procedure is basically the same. Powder, patch ball, or conical. Ram it in place. Check it, make sure your marks line up on your ramrod. Put your primer in the pan. When you're ready to fire, you cock it and fire. That first time right there that I just shot it, the reason it didn't have a loud bang to it is I just put loose powder in the bore because I wanted to make sure I had all the oil dried up in it. Same loading procedure as before with the long rifle. Make sure it's seated pretty well. You want to keep your hands and your face away from that muzzle as much as you can. Definitely a good idea when you're loading it to make sure that muzzle points away from you. Reach in the possibles bag. Make sure I get a good priming charge in the pan. You're ready to go. You're ready to hunt. Ready to fire. You see your deer or whatever. You got your target ready to shoot. Cock it up. Hopefully, if you didn't flinch when you pull the trigger, you got a deer. But these are my 2 flintlocks, and all flintlocks are going to work basically the same. Grab that one here. So now we can go inside and we can look what's in my possibles bag and some recommendations I can make for you about the powder charges you need to start off with and how to load these guns and how to maintain them and clean them. So let's go back inside. Thank you for watching this latest Gunworks video. Down East Gunworks is a full-service firearm repair service for all your long guns and handguns that includes a high-tech machine shop for tooling obsolete parts. Old or new, if you have a firearm that needs attention, Gunworks can probably fix it, solve it, coat it, and make it work. If you're living in Down East Maine, come by the shop for a visit. We're located on Route 1 in Harrington. If you live elsewhere, you can reach us by going
to the website www.downeastgunworks.com or call in the shop at area code 207-483-2175. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please leave me a comment and rate the video. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll always know when I've posted something new. And thanks again for watching.